I'm just pouring you a glass of wine and myself as ready.
Lovely.
When you finish the gin. Are you happy with this, to start with this one?
Merlot. Yeah.
I'm halfway through it already. Not from tonight, I hasten to add.
Okay.
That's lasted 2 nights.
Right.
Which is quite good for me.
It's very good.
I'm just like back and forth with abstaining and then indulging.
Yeah, I need to. I've been kind of cutting down a bit, as it were.
I was going to say, my next door neighbours moved.
Do we live here together now?
You know the nice ones that work in the restaurant?
Oh, yeah. That gave us the tiramisu.
They've only just moved on the other side.
Right.
I've got this new, don't know what you'd call it. It's the cabinet.
Oh, I noticed that. I didn't know whether it was new or not.
Yeah, I've just sort of was looking at it outside of junk shop in Old Market, and the man just said, "Do you want it? You can have it."
What, for free?
Yeah.
Oh my goodness.
And I said, "All right then." And if you open it, it's absolutely full of wine.
Right.
Because I got 2 deliveries because they said have an extra one, and it was like a surprise.
Right.
But each bottle is really cheap. I mean, it's like still each bottle is £7, I think.
Right.
But they're all quite good wines, I think.
Yeah.
I don't really know much about wine, but
shall we start the show?
Yeah.
Okay.
Welcome to What? That Old Queen, a candid and adult take on queer life quandaries at a certain age. So please listen at your own discretion. Presented by Bernie and Tommy, their views are their own and in no way reflect those of any service you may hear this program on. Now, let your ears be upstanding for the Old Queen.
Hey, Tommy.
Hi, Bernie.
How you doing?
Do they know it's Christmas time at all?
I hope so.
I think they do.
We certainly know it's Christmas time in here because you've got all your decorations up.
I have, yeah. I love this time of year for the decorations.
Yeah. It's as camp as Christmas in here.
I thought it was quite understated, really.
Yeah. Well, it's a bit more overstated than my place, I think. I love your tree, though.
Thank you. I've got an anecdote about the tree.
Okay, what happened with the tree?
Well, it is from my friend's Christmas tree farm, and she usually gives him one every year. And it's a beautiful, quite full, short tree with lots of decorations. And I said to my friend, I've decided to call my Christmas tree Beth Ditto.
Okay.
Because she's kind of like short, quite large, and very glamorous.
Yeah.
Just beautiful, really. And she's decorated in pearls and peacocks.
Right.
And my friend said, "Why are you calling it Beth Ditto? Is it because she's standing in the way of the remote control?" I said to her, I think that's the funniest thing that you've ever said. Because she just came out with it.
Amazing. Well, you've actually got a remote control as a fairy. Which I think is unique.
It's your mum's remote control.
Oh, yeah, my mum. So I've got a little anecdote about my mum. Because obviously she's in, mother's not feeling herself these days. And she's in Shady Pines.
Is that what it's called?
No. That's the nursing home from Golden Girls. Okay. And obviously I look after her affairs, so I get all of her mail sent to me. And this week I had a little kind of pack of junk mail for her, which had like a little magazine in. So in amongst these leaflets of Stanner stair lifts, walk-in showers, and chairs that lift you up out of the seat,
which we all need,
all of which I'm tempted to buy right now, there was this magazine which was selling porn DVDs and sex toys.
And does the porn feature older adult performers?
Not that I'd noted. I mean, it's mainly straight porn. It's not. I couldn't see any gay porn in there. Mm-hmm. Obviously, otherwise I'd be buying it. But not particularly. But I kind of went down a little hole because I wondered if like old people were targeted for like porn and sex toys.
Last week we were talking about my parents being fraud targeted.
Right. Yeah. So I thought
yours are being porn targeted.
And apparently, like older porn stars or performers are quite the thing at the moment. Because I went into a little bit of research about this.
What do you mean, quite the thing?
Well, like a lot of older porn stars are doing it.
They're going back.
Yeah, and there's a lot of kind of porn featuring older people, and then I came across.
So, would you think Fatima, the ballet dancer, might go back into ballet after she's through with cyber?
Maybe. Who knows? It's a growing industry. But then I found online from an article from 2018 a sex guide advising nurses how to help OAP patients with porn and the use of sex toys, which is fair enough, I think. So this leaflet
Is it quite an extensive document?
Well, I'm not going to read all of it, but the leaflet circulated, but it's a leaflet. So it's not like War and Peace or anything. No. The leaflet circulated by the Royal College of Nursing also covers the topics of masturbation and extramarital affairs. The new guidance was produced to help nurses and care staff advise on the taboo subject of sex lives of the older generation. The brochure called Older People in Care Homes, Sex, Sexuality and Intimate Relationships has been developed to help nursing staff work effectively with issues of sexuality, intimate relationships, sexual expression and sex with people living in homes in a professional, sensitive, legal and practical way. Fundamentally, people who move to live in a care home should be able to have the same rights, choices and responsibilities they enjoyed at home, provided that these do not impinge upon the rights of others in the home. The 44-page guide states. That's not a leaflet, is it? It's 44 pages.
No, it's more than a leaflet.
That's like a book. It's a booklet. Okay, the guide states that sexuality remains a fundamental aspect of being human throughout life. It encompasses gender identities and roles, sexual orientation, intimacy, sexual expression, and sexual acts. It goes on to say that the sexuality also influences identity, self-image, self-concept, self-worth, and also affects mental health, physical health, social relationships, and quality of life. I wondered if they remembered that during COVID times. The leaflet cites case study examples of real patients and problems they have encountered when it comes to sexual activity within their care homes, including an OAP who was refused help with masturbation because staff felt ill-equipped to deal with it skillfully.
Well, it's brilliant, isn't it?
I think it's amazing. Like the whole thing, this podcast is called What, That Old Queen? So I quite like the fact that maybe our sexual needs will be kind of looked after as well as our physical and mental needs.
Because they're not being now.
Exactly, that's what I meant. It's just like, well, where's the leaflet on this for COVID times? What do you think about that?
I think it's brilliant. I think, I think that it's just, it sort of paves the way for, a bright future for us to be who we want to be in a care home. I actually would quite like to have retired sexually by then. I think that's my personal preference, but maybe I'm just speaking. Maybe I'll have a different view of that when I'm that age.
But just because you're older doesn't mean. I think it's interesting that you say that, because I think there is a slight, as it says in that leaflet or the article, there's a taboo about talking about older people having sex, and the fact that we have sexual needs, since we're adolescents into adulthood, doesn't mean that's necessarily going to go away when we get older.
But also, even without actually doing the physical act, it's so caught up in one's identity that if you're just brushing it under the carpet, then that can't be healthy. So all of this stuff is just brilliant in terms of like just acknowledging that people were at least sexual beings, and that is tied in with their identity, or that they still want to be even. Yeah,
totally. I think that's great. But it was quite interesting because I just thought, that's an interesting topic of conversation for our podcast. And I think it's quite nice, almost comforting.
Very comforting.
Yeah.
Can we have the writer of the leaflet as a guest?
I'll try. Well, it's a novella if it's 44 pages. So they've done a lot of work and research.
I find it very difficult to read, but I do like an audio book.
Yeah.
Maybe they've done one of those.
I'd offer. Maybe I should offer.
Yeah.
I'll do it for them. Okay, great. That's next year sorted then. Also, we've had I don't want to call it a complaint, but we've been...
Well, it's like an interaction.
It's an interaction. We've been slightly put to task, I think.
But I think that, we were talking about this earlier, I think, it's really great when people actually respond and interact. So it feels like more like we're having a conversation.
Yeah, totally. And it's a rather long email, so I've split it into two because it has two parts. So one part, the latter part, is a Queens of Agony question, which we'll do later. But the first part
It all seems rather convenient. It's almost like they listen to the show.
Right? So in an email entitled Call Me By B.I. Your Name, it's obviously feedback on our Queens of Agony question last episode. So, dear Tommy and Bernie, thank you so much for keeping us entertained and connected to the queer community through the pandemic. I just wanted to point out a smidgen of bi erasure that crept into a recent conversation unnoticed. When you were talking about Call Me By Your Name, Bernie, it's always me, isn't it? I'm always the one who gets into trouble. Bernie suggested, to general agreement, that Armie Hammer's character Oliver is playing it straight, in inverted commas, during the film. Oliver has a girlfriend in the village, and at the end he gets engaged to a woman, breaking Elio's teenage heart. Despite before the two leads getting it on, Elio himself enjoys several steamy dalliances with a girl who lives nearby. Is either character playing it straight? ? The two men fancy each other more than they do any of the women there. That summer is undeniable, but to me, nothing in the film suggests that either Oliver's or Elio's girlfriend is only for show, nor is there any hint that Oliver doesn't love his soon-to-be fiancée back home. In fact, he's been seeing her on and off for several years, he says. A quick survey of some friends, including a few gay men of a certain age, reveals that many of them too assume that the girlfriends were only a cover story. Perhaps the Queens of Agony can shed some light onto where everyone is getting this idea from. I suspect it's mainly based on tacit biphobia. He's really gay, in inverted commas. So pity the woman who labour under false pretences with him. Oliver's summer of love with Elio means his past and future straight relationships must all be a performance.
Just to say on that note, though, that does happen the other way around quite a lot. Like you often hear a straight person saying, yeah, but you must be straight though, really.
Yeah.
It's just a phase or something.
Yeah, I think it happens with lots of LGBTQI plus things. In the imagination of my friends, Oliver is dooming himself to the loveless life of a married man. Perhaps Oliver is stopped by sexual shame, but couldn't it just as much be the age gap and the ocean between them that gets in the way once summer ends? All this leads me to a quandary for the Queens of Agony, which we'll go into later. But I kind of agree. We didn't flag up that they could be bi, and I apologise for that. But the actual question was that Timothy Chalamet's character seemed more into it than Armie Hammer's character. So we were trying to ascertain the acting choice for that. So the suggestion was that he was playing it straight, and that's why he would play it like that. And that's not to negate that either of them were bi or gay. It just wasn't really mentioned, was it?
Well, I can't remember much about the film. I think I might have said that. But it's good that someone's pointed this out.
Yeah, totally. And I think because of the time period that it was set.
What is the time period? Is it like 1950s?
I can't remember whether it's 50s, 60s or 70s, but it's not now, is it? They don't have mobile phones or anything. They're still dialing people on a landline. So that puts us back to at least the 70s or 80s, doesn't it? And I think it probably did kind of present it in a way that they might be, playing it straight. But I don't know. I think you're absolutely right. We should have mentioned that they could be bi. And I also did a bit of research. And in the book, Elio recognises his own bisexuality and his attraction to Oliver in the follow-up book called Find Me. And during the final meeting at a bar, Elio and Oliver muse that people can lead two parallel lives, one in reality and one a fantasy that is denied to them by external forces. So even that book is, through that kind of quote, is kind of saying that they've had to repress their sexuality in some way. Whether you're gay or bi, you have to do that, really, don't you?
Yeah, I think there could be more complicated issues around being bi and the way that people might assume things about your, like, I guess a lot of people talk about bi people, like there might be a perception that they just want like sex all the time, like with whoever. And I think that it's just it's not like that at all.
No, it's not like that. Anyway, I think we'll get into that in more detail later on when we comes to the Queens of Agony section, because there's a whole other question about this.
Yeah. I mean, I have...
as a follow-on.
I have a sort of whole... I guess I have a kind of whole weird relationship with men that would talk about being bi, because I think I present myself as quite feminine. And I think that... I don't know if this is true, actually. I might be just making it up, but I think that quite a lot of bi men enjoy that androgyny.
Yeah.
And so I quite often meet bi men.
Yeah. Well, let's talk about that a bit later.
All right, then.
But in the meantime, are you hungry?
I've had a prawn masala, but there's always room for more.
Have you got room for dessert?
Oh, yes. I have been... the problem with Christmas is I do like the sweet things. And so I'm on 2 mince pies a day now.
Well, I haven't brought you mince pies,
okay.
Although I nearly did, actually. But for this episode's Schnack Out of It, so during lockdown, I became aware of Tony's Chocolonely chocolate bars. Have you heard of these?
No.
They're quite pricey for what they are, but I got a massive bar free with a gin club order that I did during lockdown.
Are you a member of the gin club?
Well, not anymore. Apparently I drink too much. Anyway, so we have 2 of these to sample. We have like the General Milk chocolate one and a caramel sea salt one. What do you fancy? Shall I just split them in 2 and then we'll just have half each?
I love, my favourite thing is caramel sea salt ice cream.
Yeah. Well, you like a bit of salt, don't you?
I love salt, yeah.
So
my mum calls me the salt police because I'm like, oh, I think you've put too much. But It's all relative, isn't it, with salt?
Yeah. When really you're saying to her, put some more in.
That's not salty enough, is it?
It is to me.
What is it?
Yeah. I think if there was any more in there, I'd be getting scurvy or something.
Nice then.
Do you think we need to eat an apple after this?
Well, there's plenty.
Okay.
I've just been to Lidl.
They're quite thick bars, aren't they? It's good chocolate.
I really like the packaging. It feels like the 1950s.
Yeah. It's nice.
You're very good getting all these bits together, Bernie. I'm very grateful.
Well, I have nothing else to do with my time at the moment. It's good.
Where are they from? Are they sort of American?
I think it might be an American company originally. Although I've tasted American chocolate and it's not that great. I think might be British. I think it's good. And you can get them from like any supermarket, really.
Can you?
Yeah. Like I said, they're a bit pricey.
What's pricing?
Well, so it's like £3 something for a big bar.
Oh, okay.
I mean, it's not a Cadbury's fruit nut.
And why do the gin and tonic people give you them?
Well,
are they supposed to go well with gin and tonic?
so when you do the gin club, they don't just send you a gin. You get a magazine, and then you get a whole little treat pack of schnacks.
What's the magazine about?
Gin. So, and it tells you and it gives you loads of mixes and stuff, so you can make like a little gin cocktail each time. I mean, if Gin Club want to sponsor this show, we could do a whole feature on it, right?
Well, I very rarely get gin because I've just been drinking wine really during lockdown.
Yeah. You've made us a gin tonight.
But I made you a gin when it feels quite celebratory to me.
Yeah.
And I'm in that kind of mood.
You are. Tell us your good news.
Got Arts Council funding for the next year.
That's brilliant. So, but I'm just warning you, I will be coming around for dinner every night because obviously I can't afford to feed myself at the moment.
Look at that.
Well, our guest is ready to enter the room. So let's have a little break and we'll be back with our special guest who we'll tell you about after this.
If you're enjoying What That Old Queen, please share our episodes on social media and subscribe on whatever podcast platform you listen on. If you can write a review, that would also help expand our audience too. We don't have any advertising or sponsorship, so if you can contribute to our Patreon account or help us by buying some merch, the links are in the episode description below or on our website, thatoldqueen.com. Thank you for your continued support.
So we're back and we have a fabulous guest. Tommy, would you like to introduce our fabulous guest?
Well, our guest tonight is Sue Tilley, who I feel like I know very well, although we've actually never met. And I know Sue because during lockdown, she's been doing these amazing online Facebook life drawing classes, which I participated in quite a lot.
Oh, well, yeah, I think you told me about that.
Yeah, I love them. And Sue just chit-chats to the guest and you just draw a picture of the person that you're speaking to. And there's all sorts of different people.
Amazing.
But that's something that you were doing anyway before lockdown in the pub. Is that right, Sue?
I was doing a life drawing class in a pub with my friend Wayne Shars, who seems to have got a pub. What's the word? He's got 3 pubs down here now. So, I used to do it in his pub on a Tuesday night, I think. It was very enjoyable.
And when you say life drawing, I usually think like naked people.
I meant live people.
Okay.
We had a couple of topless fellas and a fella in his pants, but generally we like more people to be dressed.
Okay.
But you are...
And also, it was a pub, so you couldn't really have a nude model.
No, totally.
But you are a famous nude.
I am. I know. That's very embarrassing because I'm not really a nudist at all. You know.
Tell us about your encounter with a rather famous artist.
Which one?
All of them.
No, you may. No, funny. When I worked in the Dole office for years, loads of the young British artists signed on there before they were famous. And I didn't really know who they were, but then I had some friends who were arting. I went out and they're all there, and they're going, "Oh, you're the woman from the Dole office. We wanted to know who you were, wandering around in those fantastic dresses." Because I used to wear Leigh Bowery dresses to work. But anyway, I changed the subject, and now I shall get on to when I met Lucian Frued. Because Leigh Bowery was my very good friend, and Lucian's got lots of children, and so various people I knew some of his children. And then one of these models introduced Leigh to Lucian, and then Leigh always liked to be very bossy and control people's lives, so he decided that I should work for Lucian. But Lucian was also the same. He liked to make his own mind up, so Leigh had to plant the seeds into Lucian's head that he wanted to paint me. So it was a battle of two wills trying to trick each other.
And you were just the pawn in the middle.
Pawn in the middle of the game. I have to say, it didn't work out too bad for me, so there we go.
But it didn't work out too bad for you. But in a way, I don't know how much that painting sold for recently, but it was a lot of money, and I don't imagine you got any of that.
No, and I don't even get a thank you, to be honest. You know, because I know the people who sold the first one, I thought, oh, they might send me a bunch of flowers. Nothing.
Oh.
But I've done all right. You know what I mean? I'll never be rich, but I can always just about survive. So that's all right.
And so you mentioned Leigh Bowery. You wrote a book about him, didn't you?
I did. No. It's bizarre. Someone who I can't do anything. I've done quite a lot. Yes, I did, which I thoroughly enjoyed writing.
And what was it about? Just his career and his life? And
well, I'm not very good at chronologically and remembering what years things happened. So I thought, what am I going to do? I never put it in order. So I made little different chapters on different subjects, e.g. his childhood, his sex life, going to nightclubs, his holidays, his fashions, his artistic endeavours. And so that's how I wrote it. So it covers his whole life, really, in an amusing way, I think. It's quite a funny book.
What do you think Leigh would have thought of you writing the book about him?
Well, I would have written it, then he would have come over and he would have changed everything I wrote to what he wanted to be said. But then would pretend that I'd written it, you know. But yeah, I did it because of him, because he was wanting me to do things, and I'm a bit lazy sometimes. And I was asked, I thought, how can I write a book? I thought, oh, all right, then I will. So I did.
So how did you meet him? How did you become friends?
In Heaven nightclub.
Of course.
Because round the back in the 80s, there was a bit called Cha-Chas, which was all trendy, rough, you know, hard times was the fashion then. So all those people went. And so I went there with a couple of friends, and he was a friend of a friend. You just meet someone, you just take to them.
Yeah.
And then with about 2 weeks, we were friends. But I think people thought it was a bit weird that he'd be friends with a girl from the job centre. But we were very similar. Like he had a nice proper upbringing with a nice religious family, and so did I. And although we were mischievous, we knew right from wrong and everything, you know, similar in many ways. Except I was much lazier than him.
Well, I like that you're multitasking, though. If you're saying you're lazy, it looks like you're texting someone at the same time.
No.
Complete innocence.
It looked
My phone buzzed, so I turned the sound off so it wouldn't interrupt your thing.
Oh, okay.
I've been thoughtful. Yeah.
I did a show a couple of years ago called King's Cross Remix, and it was all about King's Cross in the 1980s. And there was lots of stories, and I did sort of verbatim theatre and collected different stories, and there was lots of stories about the kind of club kids of the day. Stories about Princess Julia. Yeah. And you're quite good friends with Princess Julia, aren't you?
I am very good friends, yeah.
Do you know each other through that time?
Yeah, because she lived around the corner. So I think when I first met all the trendy people, she was living in New York. But then when she got back, Geoffrey Hinton said to her, oh, come and meet this girl I know called Big Sue. She's ever so funny. She's a little bit older than us, but she's very funny and she loves poppers. So she came to a party at my house in Kentish Town, and that's how we met. That was like over 40 years ago. We've been friends ever since. But she used to live around the corner to me in Camden. So we're always around each other's houses. But now she still lives in London, but she comes down here quite a lot. So I see her more often than I did when I lived in London.
And do you still love poppers?
No, I do not. They're disgusting. They're the most repulsive thing on earth. And how I used to love them, I can't imagine. They're repulsive.
I think they were
Someone says the word, I feel sick.
They were different back in the day. I think they were different chemicals. Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, they're disgusting.
We still like a bit of poppers now and again.
Yeah, now and again we do, actually. But Bernie's got some like special poppers that I think are imported from.
Oh, quality.
Yeah, quality ones.
They're like it's like a fine wine.
Yeah, they're from Europe, so they have different chemicals. They're smoother.
There was a shopping pattern called Zipper that sold sort of gay supplies, you know, like paddles, whips, chains, leather hats, but poppers. But they weren't even in like a trademark bottle. They were just in like a little medical bottle. And then they put them in a brown envelope to give them to you after you bought them.
Oh.
It was very bizarre. But they were better than the ones with names on because they were more pure, I think.
Yeah. Yeah. Wasn't there an article that someone was making their own or something up north somewhere?
Do you remember they were going to be banned, weren't they? Mm. But then the MP said, I'm sorry, I've got to have them.
Priti Patel let us have them.
Well, wasn't there an impassioned speech from a Tory MP?
You can take away this, but you cannot take... I'm a poppers user or something. It's a very impassioned Tory speech.
You also... Were you friends with Bananarama?
Yeah, sort of. Not like friends where I'd ring them up to go out with them. But, you know, sometimes they... my house if I had a party in there.
But so one of the people that we had on the life drawing class was Jackie, and she was the replacement for Siobhan. Yeah. My dad used to work because Karen and Sarah are from Bristol, and my dad used to work with Sarah's dad, I think.
Oh yeah.
At Rolls Royce, the Lazy R they used to call it.
Yes. So it seems actually in their book, their childhood was so similar to mine. I could have just put that in my biography and it being the same, really. Similar sort of childhood.
Are you writing?
Nice fun.
Are you writing a biography?
No, but if I did.
Sounds like you should.
I'd only write it if someone told me to write it, if you know what I mean. Because I'm not very good at starting things off my own accord. I have to be asked to do them.
Well, I think you should write one.
Yeah. We're asking you to do it.
Very nice. I'm looking for a publisher to give me an advance.
Oh, of course. Yeah. Aren't we all?
Yeah.
So you're living in St Leonard's, but you were, part of the vibrant London scene. When did you move down? And was that a big change for you? Why did you move down?
So I lived in Camden. For donkey's years.
Did you live next door to Scotty?
Yeah, his house was opposite mine. He used to look through the window and wave. He used to always come in around my house because he didn't have much. They'd come and watch my telly and I'd cook him his tea, him and James. I lived there and then I moved, for some unknown reason, I moved to East London, Bethnal Green, Roman Road, about 9 years ago maybe. But I never really liked it there. My flat was really horrible and small. But I never thought of moving. It didn't even cross my mind, really. But then I came to see a friend down here and I thought, oh, it's quite nice. And I looked at some people. I thought, I could be friends with those people. And then I looked on Rightmove and I saw the flats and I couldn't believe my eyes. So next day, didn't even think about it. I just put my flat for sale, my London flat. And the day it sold, next day I came down here and found a flat. Then moved here.
Amazing.
And it's weird. I was never nervous about it or anything. And I knew about 3 people here. And it was like, I was driving here the day I moved and it was so lovely. I thought, I can't believe I've done this. But then I've been happy ever since I've lived here. I love it. And I've got thousands of friends now here. Well, not thousands, quite a lot.
Amazing. So when did you move?
3.5 years ago. No, coming up to 4 years, actually. February 2017.
And how's the lockdown been for you?
Well, it was quite enjoyable to start with.
Do you think that's because you're not in London? Do you think you would have had a different experience?
I think it's horrible. But I've got a lovely flat. It's quite big, and I've got everything I want in it. I've got a little garden. And it was sunny, so a lot of it I just spent lying in the garden And like people I knew went past, so I could chat to them over the fence. Or if we wanted to break law, they might pop into my garden for a minute. I know. But then I got the letter saying I was mental health isolate. But it didn't come till about the end of April. Yeah, I thought, well, I can't be that ill, can I? If, But I did stay 10 days in on my own for a bit. But, as I said, I've got lots of friends who pop into the shops and go, oh, do you want this? Do you want that? It was fine.
Oh, great.
And then I got doing these jobs. So I've got my 2 online jobs, doing my art class and doing a quiz online as well. So that kept me busy, kept me something to do, a bit of attention, which I love. So that was nice.
Tell us about your online quiz.
Well, I used to do a quiz as well here. You see, in another pub here, not owned by Wayne, owned by someone else, a very good friend of Bananarama, as it happens. And so I did a quiz there every month. It started being a pop quiz, but then it got more like pop culture. It was telly, films, music, and then some rounds like What's the Biscuit? And you had to guess. And we had to pass the parcel. It was really good.
And I've done the online quizzes as well, and they are really fun. Yeah,
they're all like ridiculous questions.
Are you doing pass the parcel online?
Oh no, you can't really, can you? Especially if they couldn't even see who was there. No, so but to be honest, I'm quite glad because it was an awful lot of time wrapping it all up. It took me ages. And I had to put prize in every layer. Then sometimes I used to forget, so I had to unwrap it again, and they fell out. And put clues in. So it wasn't simple. I did a proper job.
Amazing.
In the online quiz that I took part in, you were asking for suggestions for different rounds. Yeah. I think I was like famous front doors. Did you ever?
I don't do that one. No, I didn't. But maybe I could. But the thing is, I don't. They're both on a little holiday at the moment. The quiz and my art class, and so I think I'm doing the art class again on the 21st of Christmas. But I don't really know what's going on with the people who run it because they do lots of art council grants and that, and I don't know if they've still got any. So I don't really know what's happening.
I did the last one, which is only a couple of last week, was it? With the mayor.
Oh yeah, that art class. Yeah, that was the last one for a bit.
Yeah.
Did he have his top off?
I quite like the mayor.
Or them? Was it female or male?
It was a him.
Male.
Yeah, he was not so exciting as some of your other guests, I would say.
But for me, it was nice change because it tests me, talk to people I haven't known before. But unfortunately, we couldn't talk about falling out of nightclubs in the 80s drunk, which is generally
I felt like that's what we were missing.
Yeah. Now, Mr. Bear, do you remember going to the Boo in 1982 and taking coke? Taking cheap speed in the toilet.
I kill for a bit of cheap speed right now. Anyway,
do you still buy cheap speed?
I have no idea.
I know.
Probably.
I was called speed. It's not just speed. Cheap speed.
Yeah.
It's like cocaine. That's probably cheap speed.
Well, I wonder if there'll be any related questions in our Queens of Agony session. Sue, you've been brilliant. Are you going to stay on board and answer some agony art questions in our Queens of Agony section?
Yeah, that's my favourite thing.
Oh, brilliant. It's our favourite thing too. That's why we have it every week. So,
yeah.
Were you a bit of an agony aunt to Leigh?
Not really, but he could tell me anything. Do you know what I mean? And we used to discuss, and because I'm the only person he told he had AIDS, so I had to look after him, all that. Yeah. But basically, I just used to tease him most of the time. I'm not a very nurturing person. I don't think I've really got any caring bones in my body.
Well, let's see if we can draw some of that out of you with some of these questions. Okay, I'm going to do a big gong because that's what I do for this section. Now, Sue, have you seen the film Call Me By Your Name?
I have. And guess what? One of my big obsessions is Timothée Chalamet, just because I like saying his name.
Amazing. Okay. Well, we had a question. We had a question last week saying that Timothée Chalamet was being a bit more rigorous with his kissing with Armie Hammer than Armie Hammer was, and we had to think of reasons why he made that acting choice. So, like the Armie Hammer being a bit more reserved with his kissing.
Yeah.
But we didn't mention that either of those characters could be bi. And I said, like I said, I've got like foot in mouth syndrome sometimes. I said they were playing it straight. Anyway, a lovely bi listener has pulled us up on this, and we've mentioned this earlier on in the programme, but he has a question for us. So it's a relatively lengthy one, so you'll forgive me if I read this out for like the next 15 minutes. Anyway, it's not that long. Okay. I'm a bisexual man. I'm out to my family and colleagues, which makes me a pretty rare case. According to Stonewall, 80% of bisexual people aren't out to their family compared to 3 in 5 gay men and lesbians. It's anecdotal, but I find that biphobic comments are considered relatively acceptable among gay men, including my friends. They're often justified on the basis of the supposed negative experiences many gay men have had with bi men. Often this revolves around the bi man not being fully out, which of course is tricky for someone you're in a relationship with. The problem I see is that it's biphobia that keeps bi people in the closet. When things go sour between a bi man and a gay guy, it's because he's only experimenting, in inverted commas, or acting straight, in inverted commas, or doesn't know what he wants. When he next dates a woman, all her friends warn her, be careful, he's secretly gay. If bi people disclose our sexuality, everyone presumes to explain us through it. We aren't acknowledged to have the same agency gay and straight people are in relationships. I feel like saying, I'm sorry, pal, but what if he does know what he wants and it just isn't you? This seems like chicken and egg scenario. Biphobia remains alarmingly acceptable in the LGBTQ plus community because bi people aren't out and proud. But bi people aren't out and proud because they don't feel welcome in the LGBT community. How can we square the circle, old queens? Much love, on my bi horse about it. Well, that was quite lengthy. What do we think?
It's not massively. There's not really a big question there, apart from.
No, it's not waffle. But sorry. See, I don't care what people are. I couldn't care less. And most girls I know would like to go out with a gay fella because they're more fun. But I think I live in a very small circle of people who mostly think about me, like me, if you know what I mean. Mm. But I think, like I'm very fond of Schitt's Creek and they got pansexuality in that. And it's sort of things like when it's just in the mainstream, I think help.
Yeah.
And I don't know if you've ever seen Below Decks.
No.
Oh, it's on Netflix and Amazon Prime about the goings-on of a very expensive cruise yacht.
Timberlina loves that show.
It sounds right up my street.
But this week, there was like a bloke, one of the crew deckhands turned up and he was from Manchester. Lad, like this, Next thing he's going, yeah, my girlfriend's coming over. Well, she's my girlfriend. Well, she used to be a fella. She's having the operation. I don't care. I told my dad, I don't care. I'll go out with men, women, whatever. And I thought how marvellous that was.
Yeah.
On a run-of-the-mill programme that just a regular bloke would say that and be so open about it.
Totally.
I know. So I think if it happens like... But, people are so... I was shocked. Like, they're black people in the Sainsbury's advert. People say, I'm not going to Sainsbury's. What's the matter with them?
Yeah.
But now you have lots of adverts for lesbians and gays and goodness knows what, don't you? They're just normal. And if you ever watch, I watch a lot of telly, Move to the Country or any daytime programme, half the contestants and the people on it are gay.
Yeah, totally.
And they're bisexual. But you don't, why do you have to tell people? Just be what you are.
I've watched 2 sort of lesbian and bisexual like Christmas films. Like the Christmas film is like my favourite kind of genre film. And
watch the one with David Rose in it. Dan Levy.
Is that the New York Christmas or the Christmas the season? What was it? The season? I can't remember.
Something. And there's the lesbian. Not out to her mum. She's quite horrible, actually. I think.
Kristen Stewart.
She's in it. She's all right in it. It's the girlfriend. She's horrible.
I mean, the whole family are horrible.
Yeah, hasn't told the family. And then just dumps her and goes, oh, I'm going out with my old boyfriend. She was horrible. Mm. But it's still like do just acceptance that a Netflix film, lesbians, it's just kind of normal, accepted. But, it didn't actually show them very well.
So I think what we're saying in answer to this problem is that we need more Netflix shows dealing with these issues.
More Netflix shows, pansexual and bisexual people, because some people just say they're greedy, don't they?
Again, I think that is biphobic to think that, and I think what you were saying earlier, Tommy, weren't you, that some people think that because people are bisexual, they want sex all the time from anything and anyone, and in reality, that isn't the case, is it? I know.
You can't fall in love with or what do it with,
Yeah, exactly. I know quite a few bi people. Some of them don't even want to be called bi, but they fall in love with men and women, people of the same sex as them, and the opposite sex. And whoever they're kind of monogamous as well, so that whoever they're in love with, that's who they're in love with, and that's who they stay with. But I think you're right. I think if we have more exposure, if we have more exposure to bi people in television shows and the like, then we're going to understand it a bit better. Whereas at the moment, it feels a bit of a mystery because a lot of us are either straight or gay, but we're all on a spectrum, aren't we?
Of course. I mean, to be honest, I don't care what anyone is. And I think, in the last even 5 years, sort of transsexuality and that has become much more to the fore, and more people are changing sex and living their life like this, but not going for the full change. They just got bits and, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
So I think there's be people of all different sexualities. Because why is there only?
It's quite interesting
two sex?
that this problem has come off the back of the talking about a film, really.
Yeah, but I think
Timothée Chalamet did more snogging because he was younger and he's got more hormones, so he was just keen on sex.
Yeah, of course. And also he's snogging Armie Hammer, right? Who's gorgeous. So, well, they both are. But I think, I think it would be great that if we get to a point where it doesn't even matter whether you fall in love or have sex with a man or a woman, and whether that's the same sex as you or not. That's the point we need to get to, isn't it? Yeah.
And I know it never, because as I said, I live in this bubble of sort of quite open-minded people that I'm so shocked when I hear people who say like bigoted things, and that it's beyond me. I think that it was only about 60, 70 years ago that black people were allowed on buses in America. I mean, how shocking is that?
I know.
Until not long ago, they had apartheid in South Africa. How can you possibly say you're better than someone, she's got different colour skin? Like, you'd have to be retarded to think that.
Yeah, totally. I mean, things are getting better in lots of ways in some countries, not in others, but hopefully...
worse.
Yeah, hopefully we'll drag ourselves into some kind of decent more normality where we kind of accept everyone for who they are. Right.
Exactly.
Shall we move on? Because we have we have some more questions here.
Oh, good. I was thinking more like, what do you have for breakfast?
Well, there's one that might be a bit like that. Anyway, dear old queens, I'm going to include you in this, Sue.
Okay.
Because we're described as the old queens. I'm wanting a specific physical type more and more the older you get. So I've noticed the older I get, the more I seem to fixate on certain physical traits, such as hair colour and body type. I always wondered why I've seen so many older men chasing after twinks and other young adults, and I'm starting to understand the mindset involved. As I get more money, confidence, and in better physical shape, it's getting easier to attract the sort of men I've always found attractive. I wonder what the old queens think and what your experiences with your physical attractions are as you've gotten older. So as the type of person...
I'm really enjoying watching Sue's face.
So as the type of person that you used to be attracted to different now than it was back then?
See, I think I'm the opposite to this man, because I've got less choice as I've got older. I've got no interest in chasing anyone, to be honest. I like living on my own. That's what I like. I've got no interest in romance or anything. But I was more fussy when I was young. I was looking for the good-looking people. But now I like someone for their personality and everything. I'm not so fixated on their looks, but I've certainly not got a type or anything.
No.
That's it. That whole thing is a bit weird about being in better shape and everything when they're older.
I didn't like that part of the question. Yeah, it just felt a bit conceited.
Well,
yeah, people go to seed as they get a little bit older.
Yeah, and there's nothing wrong with that.
I know, and like money, like he's buying the twink. I think he just needs to find a proper friend and not be fixated on a twink.
Yeah, maybe. What about you, Tommy? Do you think your who you fancy as you get older has changed?
I think that I get sort of, I think about someone, maybe it's someone specific, and then I have a type that relates to that person. So I'm connecting that physical type with that person.
Right.
That, might have been a nice experience. If that makes sense.
But do you have a specific type that you go for, do you think?
I definitely have a type that I don't go for, which is quite similar to, I don't like tall, blonde.
Yeah, I think you've said this before. You like something other than you, don't you?
Yeah.
You don't want something which is similar to you.
Yeah.
Yes, when I was a goer, I used to in my mind, I thought I like really tall blokes. But to be honest, if you're having sex, one the same height is better, I find.
I think I'm a bit like you, Sue. I think I don't really have a type. I think it's a certain je ne sais
You know
quoi.
what my type is? If they like me, I like them.
Well, that's half the battle, isn't it? My type is, if they don't like me, I like them. But I think it's a certain something that somebody has, and it's not just about physicality, it is about personality as well. And I like someone who can make me laugh.
Yeah, that's the best. I like someone who can talk rubbish with me and watch rubbish on the telly and talk about chit-chat, just gibberish. But I find I've got a couple of friends, good-looking gay guys, youngish, who always like big fat old men. And of course they get the pick of the crop because these fat old men are so thrilled to be fancied by these young men. It all works out very well.
I know lots like that.
Well, I'm not doing too badly out of that. Anyway. I was going to say something then, but it's gone completely out of my head.
Well, did they all flash through your head?
All of them at that point. Anyway, should we move on to the next question?
Yeah.
Okay. Right, dear old Queens, what do you think when you see a guy's nipples through his shirt?
I love this question.
So what do you think when you can see a guy's nipples through his shirt, either because he's wearing a sheer or mesh shirt, or when you see the nipple print when he's wearing a regular shirt? What thoughts go through your head? Sue, what thoughts go through your head when you see an erect nipple through a man's shirt?
Put a vest on. I have to say, it's not something I've ever really noticed.
Really?
I have known men who wear grey sweatpants and you can see the shape of their cock. Just completely, you might as well be naked. I noticed that. But nipples, I'm saying I've got a lot of interest in nipples. I've never really paid it much. But I tell you what, girls, they've got really big nipples sticking out. I feel a bit embarrassed then, and I think they should cover them up. But it's your body, so what?
Yeah. What do you think, Tommy?
I really like it. I also really like the grey tracksuit bottom thing. I just find it more exciting than the real deal, I think. I saw
that yesterday. I went somewhere and I was driving back through Hastings on the seafront, and he more or less had like beige sort of knitted tights on. He literally might have been naked because you could see absolutely every bulge. You could practically see the veins.
I once had a fancy dress party, and I went as Batman. And halfway through the party, I lived in an upside down house, so I had to go downstairs to get changed to become Bruce Wayne because everyone was talking to my crotch because I was literally wearing tights. And I was thinking, this is what a woman who has big tits feels like, isn't it? Because literally everyone was just talking to my crotch because they were just looking at it.
I used to have makeup, and I used to wear a very low cut top. You could get any fella you wanted because they're so stupid. They just look at your tits and that gets them going.
Right. Well, maybe it's the thing with the nipples through the shirt for gay men.
I've never had hard nipples.
Never?
You can't have it in life, can you?
No. Well, mine, I don't have very big nipples, but they do get erect occasionally.
I have tiny nipples. An ex-partner used to call them SRN and SLN. Small right nip and small left nip.
I showed your friend Zara my nipples once.
And what did she say?
Because she was accusing me of having like massive, big, like some old guys who use nipple clamps and things like that have massive big nipples and stuff like that. She was accusing me of that, and I went, my nipples are not like that, and I showed them to her. They're tiny. She was like, oh my God, I had you completely wrong.
Do you know a black bloke called Roy?
Yes, I do.
He tie around his nipples, so they're over an inch long. But because of the areola, or whatever it is, disappeared into the actual nipple, so he had to have that tattooed on. But he looks very uncomfortable to me. I won't be doing it.
I once cut off the end of my nipple.
How did you do that?
How?
Because I was trimming my chest hair, which I've realised you should never do, certainly not with scissors. And my nipple was erect, and I accidentally cut the end of it off. It was the most painful thing that had happened to me in my life. But it healed. It's a bit. I think your nipple is a bit like lips. They heal really quickly, don't they?
Yeah, I think so. Yeah.
Yeah. Anyway, enough of my mishaps.
Have we answered the question?
I quite like nipples through a shirt. Kind of turns me on. I guess what he's asking is, does it mean that someone fancies you if they've got erect nipples?
Oh, I see. We didn't get that, did we?
Maybe. I don't know. I mean, I'm just reading between the nipples here.
I don't know.
I can't imagine if you started talking to someone and their nipples went hard and pointy, you'd go, "Oh, I'm in here."
I mean, it could just be a cold evening.
Yeah.
Couldn't it? Yeah.
Right.
I think I just think, I wish I had nipples like that.
Totally. Or aren't those nipples nice? Anyway, should we go for the final question? Dear old queens, can you recommend a decent men's cologne for me? Now, Tommy, this is one for you, I think.
Because I worked for many years in Debenham, so it's been a hard week for me.
Right.
Yeah. In the fragrance counter.
Yeah, because they've shut down, haven't they?
Well, they're closing down, yeah.
Yeah. Oh, gosh. Anyway, there's a bit of a longer question than this. It's not just... to cut a very long story short, for many reasons, I've never really dated, and I have very little experience with other gay men at all. I'm 62 years old, stayed in the closet until quite late. I never married or had kids, and I never allowed myself to express who I was. I've finally quit living a lie, and I'm just beginning to be myself. I went to my first gay pride festival last year and really wanted to go out and immerse myself in gay people. I want to start dating. I want to be sexually active, and I want to find a boyfriend. I also want to smell good for him and myself. I'm lucky in the fact that I have a good-looking body for my age, and people usually think I'm quite a bit younger than I am. So what scent shall I choose to stake my place on the dating scene?
I mean, you can't really answer that without trying a few out, really, because it's so different.
They smell different on different people.
Yeah.
I'm very keen on Jean-Paul Gaultier, in the blue bottle.
I like that
And
as
that's
well.
really, yeah, but it smells nice, and it is really camp.
Yeah, I would.
And I like Versace blue jeans, and that's cheap.
That is very cheap.
Is it?
Yeah. I don't like that smell, though.
Get for about 10 quid some places.
Yeah. It comes in a tin.
Yeah. So you've got a pencil case after as well, so it's good value.
I do like good value items. I like the Jean-Paul Gaultier one, but I don't like it on me. I like it on other people, but I don't like it on me. So
Which one?
the Jean-Paul Gaultier one.
Oh, yeah, I love it. Well, I'm trying to think what I like when people walk past.
What do you wear, Sue?
I'm very keen on Joe Malone pomegranate and fig. And I like Vivienne Westwood Boudoir. I like Tom Ford Black Orchids. You know, same old things.
I'm a
I like
Bulgari.
Jean-Paul Gaultier.
Okay.
You're what?
I like a Bulgari man.
Yeah, I do as well.
Oh, yeah.
That's one of my favourites to wear myself. What do you like to wear, Tommy?
I wear Dermot O'Leary.
Oh, from Marks and Spencer's.
Yeah.
Wayne loves that.
I loved it so much that I had to shoplift for another bottle.
I know. I buy it for my brother every year because he and O'Leary are exactly the same age. They were born on exactly the same day, and they're more or less the same height as well. So he always gets the Marks and Spencer's Dermot O'Leary perfume.
Is he quite short?
Well, yeah, about 5'6".
Yeah. And which one? Because there's 2 Dermots now.
Oh no, the one they always had, sort of green. I think the bottle is.
I mean, it smells really nice, but
What does it smell
for the
like?
price it is.
Just smell Dermot O'Leary.
Vetiver. Is that how you say it? Vetiver.
Don't know.
Vetiver. Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Sort of fresh, but also a bit woody.
Yeah. Oh,
Yeah.
I quite like that. I might try it. I quite like to wear Dermot O'Leary, full stop. But but yeah, I quite like a woody,
But I was
kind
the
of
top.
cedary.
I was the top salesperson for Prada in the country.
I love Prada perfume as well.
I used to be able to just look at someone and then look at a bottle of Prada, and they would buy it in a shop, and then
I like the Dave. Sorry, carry on. I'm always butting in.
I was the top salesperson, and they gave me £500 to spend in the Prada shop, which you couldn't really get anything really. I got a bag.
Yeah. Oh.
How big was the bag?
It's quite big.
Oh, okay, that's good.
Because in Selfridges, if you bought the men's aftershave, there was a silver bit along the top, and they'd engrave the person's name on it. So that was a good present for people.
Did you get the one with the, like the atomizer?
Yeah, I prefer an atomizer to a splash.
Okay, I've got one for you. So if you were a scent, what would you smell like?
Who, me?
All of us. So that's to everyone. But yes, Sue, what would you smell like?
Don't know. What can I choose, or just what I think I smell of?
Yeah, you did choose it. So like if you had like your own perfume, what would
Powdery.
right. Talcum powdery.
I like that because I
Like
food mask
soapy.
powdery. Yeah, but fresh, not too pungent or not too spicy. Just sort of nice.
I used to work with someone in perfumery that used to say, I like to wear a fragrance that when I've even left the room, you can still smell that I've been there.
I find that a bit too strong.
Yeah.
Do you smell of Elixir de Clinique? Clinique Elixir. Oh, you put that on, it's with you for 3 or 4 days. You can't get rid of it. Oh, and I tell you what, once I tried it, I thought I was going to die. Poison. It was so disgusting. And Angel by Thierry Mugler.
That's very sweet, that one.
Literally washing my hands to get rid of it. It was so vile.
Tommy, what would you be?
Something sexy. Something citrusy, I was going to say. Something
You smell
citrusy.
of poppers. Poppers of coke.
Poppers and cigarettes.
Poppers of
Well, that's what we do smell like. I quite like citrus. So, Clinique Happy, that's quite citrusy. I used to quite like that.
It's not woody enough for me.
Okay, so you want some woody notes as well.
Yeah, I like Figure. Is it Fig by Diptyque? I like that smell. That's woody, very woody. Or Bois, that's very woody.
I actually really like the Tom Ford tobacco one,
Yeah.
which is an acquired smell, but it is nice.
Everything he does is classy, really, isn't it? It's very overpriced. Without fail, it's classy. And if you see someone with got nice glasses, you go, oh, they're Tom Ford.
Yeah.
Whose are your glasses by?
Marc Jacobs.
Okay.
Whose are your
Marc
glasses?
Jacobs, Specsavers.
Whose are your glasses by?
Ace and Tate.
Ace and Tate.
Oh, it's modern. Who's your by?
Carrera.
Oh, very nice.
I don't even know what that is, but
I don't know.
I like the shape of them. And they've got little gold bits, which,
Oh, nice.
which kind of is a bit of bling.
Insane.
But they're a lovely shape. Anyway,
Well,
our next episode is sponsored by the Perfume Counter in John Lewis.
Yeah. And Specsavers.
Specsavers or Ace and Tate.
Yeah.
Sue, I think we've come to the end of the episode. Thank you so much for being
myself.
You've been a fabulous guest.
Will you send me a link when it's on?
Of course, yes.
Do you listen to podcasts, Sue?
No, it's embarrassing. The only ones that I've listened to are the ones I'm on, and then even then I get bored and give up.
Well,
I know. Everyone, you should have one listen to podcasts, and because in the lockdown I did about 10 for various people.
Well,
I listen to this.
You've thrown down the gauntlet, so hopefully you won't get bored with our one.
No, sounds good enough.
We talk about some juicy subjects.
My voice. I go, I've got such a horrible voice.
I don't think you have.
No, you don't.
I have.
It's lovely. Anyway, thank you for being a fabulous guest, and I think your voice is amazing.
In real life. And thanks for I look forward to listening.
Yes, thank you.
Right.
Say goodbye to our lovely audience.
Oh, bye-bye, lovely audience. If you want any advice on your problems, I thought there could be more of a personal nature to the problems. But anyway, let me know.
Well, we'll have you back. I'll pick some more juicy ones next time.
Okay, then. All right. Bye. Bye.
Tommy, say goodbye.
Goodbye.
Goodbye. We will see you next time on What That Old Queen.
You have been listening to What That Old Queen, written and presented by Tom Marshman and Bernie Hodges. The show was produced by Bernie Hodges for Hodge Podcasting in the year 2020. If you have a Queens of Agony question, or you'd like to be a guest, or if you'd like to sponsor one of our shows, you can email hello@thatoldqueen.com or find us on Facebook, Instagram, or Twitter.